Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty and fashion trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered.
GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Colleen, and let's just talk about some beauty tips. So I wanted to talk today about cream products, but do it in a different way. So I've been talking a lot in all of these podcasts I've been doing about cream products and how they really kind of can make a more natural and glowy and really good look, the looks that are really in now. But I don't think I really conveyed how to use cream products. So I thought the best thing that we could do today is I could do my makeup with almost all cream products, and I could explain to you exactly what I'm doing and how I'm using each specific cream product. I think this would be an easier way for me to kind of go about explaining to you how cream products work, because I understand that they can be kind of scary. Because the majority of products that you're using or buying or seeing are powder products. But as this new trend of more glowy and more natural and that kind of thing looking skin, and not just skin, but the whole shebang, cream products can be really, really useful in this, and I understand that they're pretty scary to use. They're kind of intimidating. They were intimidating to me, and they're intimidating to a lot of people, so let's get into doing some makeup and explaining how we use cream products. And these are also a lot of products I didn't use in the last podcast where I did my makeup with you guys. So let's start with some skincare. So the first thing I'm going to do, these are all cream as well. I don't know if you call it cream, almost like jelly-ish. I don't know. But let me tell you what I'm doing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Milk Makeup Watermelon Serum. It's a brightening watermelon serum. And I'm going to slather that all over my face. I'm going to do this in sections because I find it works better if I do it in sections so it's not just sticking, because once I put down the product, I'm going to kind of tap it into my face. I'm going for a very, very hydrated face today because, like I've said a million times on this channel, just in general, this podcast, where am I? It's early. But I've said a lot on this podcast that I am super dry, and I am, and I've noticed the past few days and the past few weeks that it's just where I am, it's just been very, very dry. Since it is still technically the winter, it is pretty dry, and my skin has been feeling really dry. That's why I'm using this watermelon serum, because it's good for dry skin. And I've been using this for a few weeks, and I'm not sure if it's helping, but I obviously am still using it, so I feel like it is. So I'm putting this everywhere and then tapping it out. I'm doing it in sections, like I said before. And I'm doing this everywhere except for right under my eyes, because I'm going to use a different product for this. So the last bit of this watermelon serum is going to go on my forehead, which is super dry. I have bangs now, and every time I do my makeup, I'm like, wow, I just ruined my bangs. Okay, let's move on to our next product. So my next product is going to be the Milk Makeup Cooling Water. Once again, these are all cream products. So I'm going to take this cooling water, and remember how I didn't put the watermelon serum under my eyes? I'm going to put this under my eyes. This is cooling, also just good for my under eyes, but it's cooling and it helps kind of wake you up. And you could definitely put this in the fridge for a little bit and it would help too. So I'm putting that right under my eye and doing the same thing where I'm going to tap it out under my eye to really kind of get it in there. Or like, not so much tap it out, but tap it in to under my eye. Now, the sides of my nose have been super dry. I don't know why, but they've been super dry lately, so I'm going to take that same cooling stick and put that on the sides of my nose because this is super hydrating. I've not put it all over my face because I feel like it's better made for the under eyes, but I've been doing this for the past few days and I feel like it's really been helping. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of time before I put on my moisturizer because that's a very, very important step. But let's talk about cream products while I'm taking a little bit of time. So when it comes to skincare, most things are going to be in some sort of cream or oil or some sort of fashion like that. So this is a step that's not as confusing as the rest of the cream makeup or not as intimidating as the rest of cream makeup in general. Now, these are products that work for me with very, very dry skin, but it might be a little different for you, but I just want to, get the point across that skincare before you put makeup on is very, very, very important. Now that I feel like this is really kind of sinking in here, I'm going to take the vegan milk moisturizer from Milk. I'm running low on this tiny little baby jar. These are from my kits that I talked about in one of my last podcasts. If you want to know, then you should go watch that or listen to that so you can understand about each of these products individually. But I'm going to take out a little bit and put it on each cheek. And then I'm just going to rub that in. Not hard. You don't want to rub your face really, really hard. That's just something that you don't want to do. If you don't want to pull on your face, you don't want to pull on the skin on your face. The skin on your face is a lot thinner than the skin on the rest of your body, and you just don't want to pull on that. That's the last thing you want to pull on. Don't pull on your face. That's what I'm getting at here. Now I'm just going to put this all over my face and my nose, and focusing definitely more on the areas that I know that I get the most dry. So those sides of my nose again, around the little base of my nose near my nostrils, right in between my eyebrows where a unibrow would go, and then my forehead, just all over my face. But those are the areas that I tend to get the most dry. Which, it's different for everyone, but it's definitely my nose area and lower cheeks and my unibrow area. In between the eyebrows. I don't have a unibrow, but if I did, that's where the unibrow would go. And before I do anything else, I'm going to let this kind of sink in. I'm going to pat it in a little bit, because you want it to sink in before you put anything on top of it. Otherwise, you're just disrupting the skincare you just did. And that's just a waste of skincare. And skincare is not cheap. I mean, it can be, but it's, I don't know, makeup in general, I've talked about this a million times, is not cheap, and skincare is not cheap. And a lot of times I notice that the skincare is actually more expensive than the makeup itself, but you're really paying to take care of your skin, and that's really, really what's important. And you need to find what works best for your skin. And I find that these work really well for my very, very dry skin. Now I'm going to take a little break, let this set in, and when I come back, we'll start on with the makeup.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, before the break, this entire podcast, we are talking about cream products and how to apply them. We just applied some of my skincare, and now let's move on to the makeup. Now, once again, I'm going to start with a base, and I'm going to use a primer. This is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer, and I love this. I've also heard from people who have oily skin that this works too, just not as well. So just bear in mind, get a sample or just find a way to try it out before you do buy a mini size, like we had talked about in a recent podcast about the mini sizes in these sets. And this should really, I love this. I swear by it. I've used it on a lot of clients, and it's just my favorite all around. But I'm going to put this on now that all my moisturizer and stuff has settled in. That's the better way to say it. Now I'm going to do this the same way I did with the moisturizer, where I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on my cheek, but I'm working in sections because with this primer and with a lot of primers I've seen, it's easier to kind of spread it out or just get it on the section that you need it in before it starts to dry down, and you don't want to put a big glob of some sort of product on your face and then have it start drying down before you can get to it. So I've done one cheek down to my jawline, and I'm going to do the next. Now this stuff, I've talked about this before, but this stuff actually goes on relatively smooth, but then starts to get pretty tacky, and you have to really wait a minute before you apply your makeup. So I always do this right after my moisturizer and before my makeup, and I'm going to do my brows next so that this has time to sit and settle in. And that's a thing that happens with a lot of cream products and a lot of products that you're going to put under your makeup. You're really going to want to let it sit and kind of sink in before you put anything on top of it, because it can disrupt your makeup if it hasn't settled correctly. Just an FYI. I used this when I first got it, and I applied this on, and when it was sticky is when I thought, I should put the foundation on right after, and it was not a good time to put foundation on. I had noticed that right when I put the foundation on top of it, everything started to kind of peel off, and I was like, ooh, I hate this. This is terrible. I don't know what's going on. I was like freaking out about it. I was like, how is this not working? I've seen it working for a bunch of different people. And so finally I was like, you know what? I got to do it a different way. So I tried it a different way and let it sink in instead of just applying stuff right on top of it, and it works beautifully. Now this goes for a lot of products. If something's not working for you, don't just give up. Take a second and regroup and think about a different way that you could apply or try it. that's the best way to figure out how a product works the best for you. Now, this is all over my face, so let's move on to my eyebrows. Now, since this is a majority cream product, almost 100% cream product look, I'm just going to use a gel, a fiber gel, brow gel, a tinted brow gel. I'm going to use a tinted brow gel and no powder or anything else in my eyebrows. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I have a spoolie here, and this is a spoolie I like to use specifically for my eyebrows, and I've actually taken the spoolie and bent it into an angle so it's easier to get at my eyebrows. This is a good way if you have an eyebrow brush, like a separate one than what's on the other end of your pencil or something like that. You can angle it, and this will kind of help you to get the correct shape you're looking for. Now, my eyebrows are pretty wild at the moment. They are growing all over the place, and that's okay. Big eyebrows are in right now, and I'm just going to let them do their thing. So I brushed my eyebrow into the shape that I want, and I'm going to take my eyebrow gel. This is the Milk Makeup, shocker, Cush Fiber Brow Gel, and I use the color Dutch, which is a darker brown. And I'm going to take that. I always like to rub off a little bit of the excess on the inside of the tube. And I'm going to take that and start to just fill in my eyebrows and kind of take it more on the spaces that I need more coverage. Now, I never start by putting it directly on the front of my eyebrows because I feel like it'll distribute the product too much in the front of my eyebrows and it's going to be a lot. So I always start a little bit past the front of my eyebrow and then I do it that way. I run it through, kind of make that shape that I'm looking for. Then I'm going to take my mirror, which is right in front of me. I'm going to pull it up closer, kind of notice what I'm missing, and dip back in to the gel. Ooh, I got an itch in my other eyebrow. The other eyebrow's jealous. That's what it is. And I'm going to do the same thing, but really focus on those areas that I'm missing out on some hair. Some areas I really want filled in. And then I'm going to take the spoolie after I've done that, and there's less product on the spoolie, and then I will run that through the front of my eyebrows and really kind of give it a good look. Now I'm going to take that spoolie, just the clean spoolie, and I'm going to run that through what I just did. And I don't want to wait to do this because I want the product to kind of move around. Now, I don't put a lot of product because it's easier to add than to take away. Obviously, I've said that a few times on this channel, and I'm looking for a very natural brow. So I'm going to look at this, and I'm pretty happy. I might add a little bit more, and I'm just taking it from the rim of the tube where I am brushing off the excess so we don't waste any product, and I'm going to run that one more time through. And now I'm going to take the spoolie and let it do its thing. And then we're going to move on to the next eyebrow. Same thing on the other eyebrow. Not much different. They're not going to look the same. Eyebrows are sisters, not twins. Which, it's okay if they look absolutely different because me and my sister look absolutely different. That's just how I go. Oh, they look completely different? Oh yeah, no. But what I'm trying to say is just, don't get frustrated or discouraged if your eyebrows are looking a little different and not exactly the same. Because they're probably not going to look exactly the same unless you draw them on, and even then, you gotta be a master of copying to get them to look the same. Now I'm just doing the same thing on the other eye, brushing it up, brushing some product through, and continuing to just do that. There is an alarm that is going on and off outside of my studio here, and it is frustrating because I'm trying to talk to you guys, and that's more important than this alarm. No, I'm just kidding. Somebody could be breaking into a car, but I really doubt it. I don't know if they're working on an alarm or not, because it just keeps going on and off and on and off, and I had to take a quick stop and check my own car to make sure it wasn't me, and it's definitely not me, so I don't know what's going on out there. But there is an alarm that will not stop going off. So if you hear that, I'm just letting you know. Now, I'm going to finish off this eyebrow and take a quick break, and when I come back, we'll start on the rest of the more fun cream products and the more cream products that are a little confusing.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now we are talking about cream products and how to use them. I am applying cream products on my face and explaining to you guys how they work, because they can be pretty scary. Now before the break, I did my eyebrows and I also did my primer. Now, my eyebrows, the one thing I didn't tell you what I did was I just ran a little bit of clear brow gel through them. I like to do this personally because I believe it, I see that it helps to kind of hold the brow down in place. You don't really have to do this if you're just using a tinted brow gel. I just like to do it personally. It's just me. But let's move on to my base. Now, I have a beauty sponge here. This is the Wet n Wild beauty sponge. It's cheap. That's why I love it. It's cheap and it works really well, and it's damp. Now, a lot of people, they get a beauty sponge and they're like, I don't like this. And it's because you're not dampening your beauty sponge. And when I'm saying dampening your beauty sponge, what you need to do is run it under some water. And while you're running it under some water, you're going to want to squeeze it. Let's see if you can hear the sound it makes. I don't think you really can. Ew, it got wet. But, and you want to wring it out while you're doing it, and it will triple in size. And this will really help. And this helps with I'm dropping things. This will help with a lot of cream products. I love to use my beauty blender, or it's not a beauty blender, it's a beauty sponge. But I love to use a beauty sponge when it comes to cream products because it really helps to move the product around a little bit more than a brush. And a lot of times I find a brush can make things a little bit streaky when it comes to cream products. Now, we are going to do my foundation. Now that my primer is no longer sticky and has sunken in the way I like it, I'm just going to take my favorite one. It is the Milk Makeup Sunshine Skin Tint. This is definitely for dry skin. I probably would not recommend this for oily skin at all, but this is what I like because it is a perfect match to my skin, and I'm super dry today, so I'm definitely using this. Now, I'm going to take this it's got a roller ball on the top of it, and I'm just going to kind of place down where I want product. Not a lot of product, just 2 little rolls of product right on one side of my face, and I'm going to bounce that with the Beauty Blender. It's going to make this sound. I bet you can hear that. But I'm starting off with a very small amount of product and blending it all the way out, starting from about the apples of my cheeks and bringing it more outward. Now, I don't want to add a lot of product. I want my skin to just look even and almost like I'm not wearing foundation. Now I'm going to take a little bit on my chin and marry those two together. While I'm doing this, I got to remember to bring it down my neck, because you don't want a knot, even if it's a perfect match. It's just going to make things look a lot more seamlessly. Now I'm going to take some and do the exact same thing on the other side of my cheek. The other side of my cheek, the other side of my face on the other cheek. There we go. And I'm just going to tap that out once again. We want light, thin layers. This is something I talk about constantly. Light, thin layers. Now I'm going to do my forehead. I gotta move them bangs out of the way. Moving the bangs out of the way. Sometimes because when I have bangs, when I go on that journey once a year, I like to sometimes not even do foundation on my forehead, but my bangs are a little thin this time, and so I'm going to do it on my forehead just so it melds it all together and makes my skin tone even. I'm not doing a lot. I'm doing a very little bit on my forehead just to even out my skin tone. Now I'm going to do a little bit on my nose. I try not to put so much product on my nose because that's the place that I find product gets a little weird. And I see that with a lot of people, that if your foundation is going to break up anywhere, it's most likely around your nose. So I use just a small amount on the nose, and I'll go back in with a little more if I feel like it needs a little bit more coverage. That's the only time. Now we are looking really good. Now I'm going to check this way. I've got a window right next to me, and I'm going to take my mirror. I'm going to put the mirror where the window is, and I'm going to look into it, looking into the natural light, and see if I'm missing anything or how even my skin looks. I think my skin's looking mighty fine. So I'm going to keep it at that, and we're going to move on to another product. Let's move on to... I'm not going to do concealer today, but I am going to put, you know what, I'm going to keep with the foundation, and I'm going to put a little bit. So the bridge of my nose, that kind of inner dip where the eye and the nose meet, I get a little blue. Now sometimes I will color correct this area, but I'm going for that nice natural, ooh, I put too much. Oh, wipe it away with the beauty sponge. But, I like to cover that area, and sometimes I will color correct, but today I'm going for a super natural look like we talked about. So I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of foundation. I already put a little bit too much in that corner, so I wiped some away. But, and I'm just going to put it in there. I don't want it on my lids, but I'm going to put it right in there so that it's not so dark. Now, this is a good tip if you're using a concealer. Sometimes I'll just use concealer and that's it, and that works as well. But I will put a little dot of concealer right in there, and maybe one a little lower down, depending on how much I'm using. And then I will blend that out, and that will help. And if I'm color correcting, I'll use a peach color, and I'll put that in the corners as well, right up in there where I get a little blue. And I will just leave it at that. I don't want to put too much concealer or foundation under my eyes. Sorry, I turned around to look in the mirror again. That's the best thing to do. But, so I don't like to use a lot of concealer because I don't want to look crepey under the eyes. And that just happens if you put too much concealer under the eyes. And I'm not going to set this. I'm not setting this because I am super dry, but if you are not dry, if you're a little oilier, you might want to start setting things, but do it very, very lightly. A very light dusting of powder. You don't want to bake. Baking is going to make you look super dry and a little cakey. So definitely go in with a little powder if you need it at this point, but I'm not going to because it's going to make me even more dry. And I am a very dry lady. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's do the eyes.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
To the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, we've been talking this entire podcast about cream products. We've done our base, not all of the base, because those are the most interesting cream products that people are a little scared of, but we're going to move on to the eyes. We've done the brows. We are ready to move on to the eyes. Now, I'm using cream products for this. I'm trying to go a little bit to a more French or Korean style makeup. Now, if you don't exactly know what that is, I'll give you a little bit, but you can also go and listen to my makeup tips from around the world, like beauty from around the world podcast, and that will go more in depth. Now, what they do is just very natural. Everything is based on the skin and just looking like yourself, but elevated, which is what we always want. So I'm going to use cream products that I'm going to use a little bit later. And I'm going to take my bronzer here. This is the Milk Matte Bronzer in Baked. And I'm going to take a fluffy brush. I am using the IT Cosmetics Crease and Concealer brush. Now I'm using the fluffy side. I'm going to take this bronzer and I'm going to put it on the back of my hand. Now I'm putting a decent amount on the back of my hand. Now I'm going to set this down. I'm going to take the brush, dip into that bronzer on the back of my hand, and I'm going to take this and start on the outer corner and bring it up into the crease. Now, when it comes to using creams on the eyes, I love to use creams on the eyes. Not just bronzers, but actual cream eye products as well, because they just look stunning. And if you add powders on top, it can really actually help to let those powders stick and show the best color, like the most pigment that they'll give. Now, I, once again, am going for really natural. I'm doing windshield wiper motions as well as small circular motions. And I'm just going to blend that until I feel it's very nicely blended. Now, I'm going to take a look in my mirror, see how that looks. I'm going to put a little bit more on the back of my hand. And I'm going to do the same on the other eye. Now, you can put down an eye primer before you do this. But I find that if I'm just using cream products, they kind of act as an eye primer. So sometimes I will not put an eye primer and I'll just use cream products and then I'll put the powder on top of that and that'll help it stick. Now, today I'm not using an eye primer. I'm just going in with the bronzer itself. I'm going to take my mirror, I'm going to face the window, and I'm going to see what we're looking at. Now, once again, the natural light from the window is really going to help me see how this is looking in the best light that I have. Now, I think this is looking pretty good, but I'm going to go back to the back of my hand that still has some product on it, and I'm going to add a little bit more in areas I feel that I need it in. And I'm actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring it into that inner corner area that we had added a little foundation into, and kind of up towards the front of my brow. That's a good shape. And it's a very popular shape at this moment. I like the way that looks, and I'm going to do the same thing with the other eye, but I'm adding a little bronzer back onto the back of my hand. I do this on the back of my hand or on a palette because I don't want to dip directly onto the product itself because I might get too much product and not really what I'm, I might have too much product and end up laying down too much product. Once again, this goes into just light, thin layers. We're going for light, thin layers all the time because we can always build, but taking away is a lot more difficult. I'm liking the way this bronzer looks in my crease. I love to put bronzers in my crease, whether they are a stick or cream bronzer or just a regular bronzer. I like to put those in my crease because they help as a good transition shade and they help kind of make a natural look. Now this is looking really good to me. I'm going to take that bronzer again, just a little bit this time, and kind of use whatever's left on the brush and go under my eyes. Now I'm going a little overboard with the bronzer today under my eyes because I want a little oomph. I want a little oomph on my eyes without being a little too much. Now, back turning around, making sure everything is blended to perfection, and loving the way this is looking. All right, now let's move on to our next color here. Now this time I'm going to use my cream highlight. This is MAC Cream Color Base, which means that this can also be used as an eye shadow. Make sure the creams that you're using can be used all over the face as well. And I'm going to put this all over my lid, and I think I'm going to use my finger. Now, I'm going to go in with my finger, get off some of the product, and I'm going to pat that onto the lid. It's very bright. But I really like the way it's looking, so I'm going to do the same on the other side. I might have really dug in on one side, but that's okay. I said I wanted a little oomph on the eyes, and that's what I'm giving myself. So now I'm going to turn once again back to the mirror and look at what I'm looking at and really decide if I need more or less on each eye. I think this is looking absolutely stunning. I'm loving it. It's very natural with a little bit more than natural. Now, let's move on to mascara. I'm going to do this mascara really quick. I've talked about this that I do all the time. We're going to go into my Kush mascara, the waterproof one, just because I'm trying to use this up before I open up another one. And I'm going to take a specific spoolie that I have for my mascara. Now, this one, remember how I said I bent my brush at an angle for my eyebrows? I've bent this at even a farther angle till it's almost straight, so this will be easier. I'm going to quick brush that through my eyelashes. I'm not curling my eyelashes because I don't feel that I need it. Feel free to curl your eyelashes as much as you want. I'm going to pull that, wiggle it and pull it up, wiggle it and pull it up. Now I'm going to take that wand that I told you about, this spoolie. I keep wanting to call it a wand. It's not a wand. And I'm going to take that, and while this mascara is still wet, I'm going to run it through my eyebrows. I'm going to talk about this trick every single podcast because it's just so good. And I really want people to try it and see the difference that they can get. And you can really manipulate your lashes to do whatever you want at this step. I want more on the outside, so I'm going to feather them out. And now we go to the next eye. I try to do this relatively quick. Sometimes I do it eye by eye. But today, I'm just doing it one after another really quick. And I am loving this. Looking great. Did I get mascara on my lid? I did. So if you get mascara on your lid or anywhere on your face, the best thing to do is to wait for it to dry and then take a clean spoolie or the same spoolie you used and kind of scratch it off. Now, I'm going to wait till that dries, but let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to move on to the more difficult products that are on the face.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
To the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, we've been talking this entire podcast about how to use cream products. I've been doing my makeup with all cream products and explaining in depth on how to use them. Now we're getting on to things that are a little bit more intimidating. So we've done our eyes, we've done our base, we've done our brows, now, and our skincare. Now let's move on to bronzer, highlight, and we're going to also do a little bit of blush. So remember that bronzer that I just used on my eyes? I'm going to take the same thing and I'm going to pull my hair back behind my ears, which I have been doing, but it's keep falling out. I need some clips is what I need. If you have clips, clip your hair back. That's the best way to do this. I just don't have any clips in front of me. Now let's go for some bronzer. This is intimidating. Cream bronzer and cream contour is intimidating. I'm just using bronzer today because I find that this color is just really good for me and I'm not feeling a very, very chiseled face. I just need to warm up my face a little bit. So I'm going to take this near my cheekbones. It's a little on the cool side. I'm doing just a little stripe. Now, I'm not going to do it anywhere else, and I'm going to take that same beauty blender on the side, the bottom side, which is the side I used for my foundation, and I'm really going to bounce that. Once again, this is the sound. I also have my headphones in, so that's the clicking if you hear it. And I'm really going to bounce it kind of upwards and around in a circular motion to blend that out. And that is looking really pretty. And I'm going to move on to the other side. I don't want it to sit there because I don't want it to dry. I really want it to move around. That's why I only did, I did both sides and nowhere else on my face. Now, I did just a little bit, not a lot of it. Ooh, I'm hitting the microphone. I'm losing it over here. But we are going to keep blending until I'm happy with it. And then I'm going to, once again, take the mirror, look at the window, and check where I'm at. And if I need a little bit more. I feel like I do. My hairstyle right now looks ridiculous, but that's okay. So I'm going to take a little bit more. I'm going to put that a little higher, and I'm just going to dot it. And I'm using, ooh, I did not mean to hit the microphone. That's what you get when you're doing your makeup while podcasting. But I am going to continue to build up as I need, and I'm using a beauty blender because with it being wet, it's going to suck up some of that product and really help to blend a cream better. I personally don't like to use brushes on my face products when it comes to cream products because I don't like sometimes the streakiness it gives you, or sometimes it just has a hard time blending out product, or you're laying down too much product and you're not picking any up. You're really putting it on there. And I really don't want to put it on there. I want natural. Now, once again, turning towards the thing, that's looking so good, and I'm going to leave it at that. Now, I could bronze a little bit on my temples, but once again, I've got bangs going on, but if I did, it would be the exact same thing around the hairline just to warm up the face. I like the warmth I'm getting now, and so I'm just going to leave it. Now, let's move on, and I'm going to do some blush. Now, I've got two here, and I'm probably going to do both. Now, they're both the Milk Makeup, and this one is the Lip and Cheek in Work. It's almost a little mauve-y. Now, I'm going to place this on my cheeks, and I'm just going to, you know what, I'm going to put it on the back of my hand first. Then I'm going to take it on the back of that beauty blender and tap it in so I get some blush on. I could just put it on, but I feel like since these are minis and the sticks are very small, I can get a precise application, but I feel like this is going to give me a better application. Now, I'm trying not to go straight up on the apples of my cheeks because sometimes on my face shape, I feel like it kind of makes my cheeks look more round, and I'm not going for that. Now on the other side, just keep putting it on the back of my hand, picking it up with the blender, and tapping that out. Once again, I'm not a big fan of blush personally on myself, but if I do use a blush, I prefer a cream blush. That's giving me a good little bit of rosiness. Now I'm going to move on to the other blush. Now this is the Glow Oil Lip and Cheek. So this has a little bit of shimmer in it. And like I said before, I'm going for really dewy, really fresh skin, that kind of Korean/French style skin. Now I'm putting this on the back of my hand again, picking it up with the blender and doing it a little bit higher, but also on the same places I just did. Since this is sparkly, it's going to give me almost a little bit of a highlighted effect. You could use this solely as a blush topper or as a blush itself, depending on how you feel about cream blushes and blushes with sparkle in them. Now I'm going to look in the mirror. I'm looking very nice, very rosy, very pretty. I might put this a little bit on the tip of my nose, but not just yet. So now that we've got that, let's move on to the highlight. So I've been doing all of these products with the same end of the beauty sponge. Now I've made sure that my bronzer is completely gone when I went into blush, and having that little bit of foundation that's left on there really helps, but not for the highlight. So I'm going to go into my highlight. It's the same one I used on my eyes, and I'm going to go with the pointy end of the beauty sponge. And I'm going to dig that into my highlighter, and I'm going to go right on the tops of my cheeks. And I like to bring it up into the temple, just because I like the way it looks. Then I'm going to take that back and bounce it out a little bit more. So I'm kind of taking one end of the sponge to apply and the other end to really blend. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side. Ooh, today is just the day for sirens and whatnot outside of my studio. And I think it's because I have the window more in a opened and not so closed up, because I need that light to explain to you guys what I'm doing, because you always want to look into natural light to see how everything's going on, because the lighting in your house might show you a different story. Now I'm turning back and looking at what I've got going on, how glowy I am, and I love a highlight. I love a highlight. Sometimes I just wear highlights. So I'm going to go back in a little bit more, not a lot. And I would add this other highlight I have right on the tip tops of my cheeks, but I'm already got a lot of sparkle going on, so I'm going to leave it. And I think those are the products that people have the most issue with, bronzer and stuff like that. All you really need to do is small little sections, or even on the back of your hand, picking it up with your beauty sponge and just adding more as you feel you need a little bit more. This will really help you move into cream contour or cream bronzer and highlight as well as blush. Now you can also do this underneath your foundation. If you do it underneath your foundation, you can go a little bit more heavy-handed because the foundation will cover it up and sheer it out. But I find that these specific cream products work better for me on top of my foundation because I'm going for something that's really glowy and really pretty. Now let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some more cream products and how to use them.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Back to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, this entire podcast, we've been talking about cream products and how to apply them. Now, I've been putting the products on my face and explaining them in depth. I've done almost an entire face fully of cream products. Actually, I don't think I've used a single powder product. Now, I do want to, say that if you are oily, you will need to powder in the areas that you're oily. Otherwise, the cream products, they're really not going to help. Whereas I have dry skin, so I don't powder. And that's okay. I just feel like powder can kind of make me look really cakey or really dry. No matter what powder I've tried or used, that's just me. If you get oily in the T-zone, you should powder those. Do not bake. Do not bake. Just a light dusting of powder to help you out throughout the day. Now, we've done a majority of our makeup, and I'm loving the way that I'm looking today. Very glowy, very natural, that kind of French / Korean style, Japanese style makeup where it's just really fresh and really clean looking. Now, what I'm going to do before I do my lips is I'm going to pull my hair back, which keeps falling to the front, and I'm going to take a setting spray. Now, this is not a necessary step, but I feel like this really helps to let my product stay all day. Now, I would definitely use a setting spray if you're powdering everything, because this can help the powder sink in a lot better, but I'm going to use the NYX Dewy Finish setting spray, long-lasting setting spray. I'm almost out of this, listen. Now I'm going to spray this at my face, but not a lot. Ooh, I'm going to try and not spray the microphone. Whew. I am very sprayed. Now we're going to... Ooh, excuse me. I'm telling you, I'm just hitting the microphone today. But I'm going to kind of fan that in, let it sink in. I can also take my blender and press it in if I feel like I've gotten a little too much on, but I feel like I got a really good amount, so I'm going to let that do its thing. While I'm letting that do its thing, at the beginning of this, I would have recommended definitely putting on a lip moisturizer if your lips are feeling really dry, which mine are. But once again, I can't use chapstick. I can't do it because it just makes my lips break out no matter what it is. I've talked about this before, so I'm going to take the MAC Prep and Prime lip, which is a primer, but it also really helps to moisturize my lips and it doesn't irritate them. And so I'm going to take that and just put that on my lips. And let that sink in. Because this, once again, is like my primer, where it'll get a little sticky. It goes on very, very moisturizing. It does really moisturize my lips, but it'll start to turn a little bit sticky. But I don't want to put my lip product on right after that. Now, I could go in and take that same lip and cheek, one of those lip and cheeks, and put them on my lips if I felt like that was the look I was going for. But I'm not, and I'm going to take this lipstick. It is a liquid lipstick. This is the Lime Crime Plushie in Chocolate Milk. I love this color. My lips are starting to get sticky. So I'm going to kind of press that in. Man, if you could see the faces I make while doing my own makeup, it's great. You should see the faces I make while doing someone else's makeup. They're also great. Now, I was going to do a wing and explain that, but I went to get my liquid liner, and it had exploded. Great. Just great. So I'm staying away from a liquid liner. A liner is a good thing to do when you've got such a natural look, because it really kind of brings everything together, or it's the standout piece. But I'm just going to go in with this. This is, once again, a very neutral lip color. And I would have gone for something a little bright, but I am going to go with my mother later on, and I'm going to go find a good red lipstick for her. And I might see if there's one for me as well. Once again, red lipsticks look good on everybody, and a red lip would go so good with this look, with this real natural look, and that being your statement piece. And my mom was listening to the podcast, and she was like, you keep saying that red lips look good on everybody, but I've never found one. And then yesterday she calls me up and she goes, would you mind going with me tomorrow to look for a red lip? And I was like, yes, 150%. Absolutely, yes. Now, we've been using cream products, and I really hope that this is helping you out to kind of navigate the world of cream products. And it doesn't have to be these exact products. All cream products kind of work the same way. These are in stick form, so they're a little easier to apply. But if you can't apply the like bronzer or highlight something straight to your face from the tube, you can also use your beauty blender to apply it, and that'll really help, or your beauty sponge. Now I'm going to take this lip color. It almost smells like cherry-ish, like old-timey cherry chapstick, and I love it. And I'm going to take this and just dot it onto my lips. Dot, dot, dot. And I'm going to press my lips together. And then I'm going to take my finger and move that product around. I'm not lining my lips. I talked about this before. I like a really kind of blown out lip. I'm not on myself personally. If I'm going to wear a darker color, I might line my lips, but I'm going real natural today. I'm going to take that lipstick, look in the window, tap it where I need more product, and blend that out with my fingers. Oh, I love this color. Plus, it's called chocolate milk, and man, I love chocolate milk. I really think if you're looking something natural, these plushies really help. And they're good to kind of blend out. And they're not drying. I love these. So I'm sticking with that, and I think it looks great. So we've done my whole makeup. Look at that. I'm so excited. I really hope this has helped you guys understand cream products a little bit more. If you have any more questions about cream products at all, hit me up on the @GSMC_ beauty tips Twitter or the GSMC Beauty Tips Facebook page. I'm always on those, always loving anything that you guys are talking to me about, whether it's something I didn't talk about or it's something that you want me to talk about, or if you're a little confused about something I said in any of these podcasts. If you're still a little confused about cream products, feel free to just let me know. Let me know on those social media pages. Also, send me looks. Whether it's a natural look or it's a real glam look, send me your looks. I would love to see them. Also, if you decided to recreate this look, Send it to me. Let me know. I'm loving the way that this look turned out. Even with the blush, and like I said earlier, I'm not the biggest blush fan, but I'm really loving the way this turned out. And my cream products are applied beautifully to the point where I feel very natural but elevated. And that's the real point about this, is to get that kind of really natural look without going super glam. Something you just want to kind of go out with and you want to look your best. You could wear this to a meeting. You could wear this to the grocery store. You could wear this to a nightclub. You could wear this anywhere. I mean, and you could also take these tips and use them for a completely different look, or, you know, an over-the-top night out look where you just want to look super glowy, your skin looks super healthy. That's what we're going for here. Thank you guys so much for sitting down and listening to me, or standing. I don't know what you're doing. Are you at the gym? That would be cool. But listening to me do my makeup today and explain these cream products to you. I love cream products on every skin type. You just kind of have to play around and see what works the best for you. But this is how products work the best. At least these products, and also just cream products I found work the best with a beauty sponge over a brush. They're great on the eyes. You can use a brush on the eyes like I used. But you can also use your finger like I also used. Once again, I explained my eyelash tip for, why am I spacing? I'm looking at it. Mascara. There we go. And also just all sorts of tips I explained with you today. And I really, really hope you take this to heart and you try out cream products if you've never tried them before, or you just step outside of your comfort zone and go the opposite way from powder products. Powder products are great too, but cream products I love a lot, and I don't think they get enough love when it comes to the beauty industry, and I really want there to be more cream products. I want people to try more cream products and be surprised at how good it looks on your skin. Now, once again, thank you so much for listening to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm Colleen, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network, from health and wellness to entertainment and life and happiness to sex and relationships. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast.